At 74, Leonard wakes up to a quiet house. The coffee pot gurgles in the corner, a clock ticks softly on the wall, and for a brief moment, he forgets the silence. Then it settles back in that heavy, invisible blanket of stillness. Leonard's wife passed away 5 years ago. His children live 2 states away, busy with lives that move faster than phone calls can catch. And while neighbors wave politely, no one ever really stops by. He tells himself he's fine, but some days the quiet feels louder than anything else. For millions of older adults like Leonard, loneliness isn't just an occasional visitor, it's become a daily companion. Growing older often means losing the people and routines that once gave our days meaning. Friends move, family members pass on, and mobility slows down. It's not that we stop wanting connection, it's that connection becomes harder to find. The truth is, loneliness among seniors is a growing epidemic. Studies show that social isolation can be as harmful to our health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It doesn't just affect mood, it increases the risk of heart disease, stroke, and even dementia. Yet, even knowing that many seniors still ask the same painful question, what if I have no one left? But here's something worth remembering. Being alone is not the same as being lonely. Loneliness is a feeling, not a permanent state. And just like any feeling, it can be changed, softened, and reshaped. There are ways to find peace, joy, and even happiness in solitude, ways proven by science, and lived by countless older adults who've learned that the best companionship sometimes begins within. Before we explore those proven ways, let's talk about what doesn't work. The traps many seniors fall into when trying to fill the emptiness. One common mistake is over-relying on television or social media for company. It may seem harmless, a few shows, some scrolling, maybe a little background noise. But too much screen time actually deepens loneliness. It replaces real emotional engagement with artificial stimulation, leaving the mind more restless and disconnected. Eleanor, a 72-year-old widow from Ohio, once told me she used to spend 8 hours a day with the TV on. It made me feel less alone, she said, until I realized I hadn't spoken to a real person in days. Another failed approach is pretending we don't need anyone. Many seniors grew up in a generation that valued independence above all else, never wanting to burden others or admit vulnerability. But emotional strength isn't about isolation, it's about balance. When we wall ourselves off to protect our pride, we also block out opportunities for warmth, friendship, and healing. Harold, age 70, used to say, "I don't need anyone." But when his doctor suggested a local walking group, he reluctantly joined and later confessed it was the best decision he'd made in years. Sometimes the walls we build to keep out sadness also keep out joy. Then there's the trap of living in the past. Many older adults find themselves replaying memories of what used to be the laughter at family gatherings, the sound of a loved one's voice, the comfort of being needed. Memory is beautiful, but when it becomes an anchor instead of a light, it keeps us from noticing the quiet gifts of the present. The truth is, the world still has moments waiting to meet you. A sunrise you haven't seen, yet a neighbor you haven't met, a hobby you haven't tried. Happiness doesn't end when the crowd leaves. It simply changes form. If this sounds familiar, if you've ever sat at your kitchen table wondering how to make peace with the silence, this video is for you. In the next section, we'll explore 6 proven ways older adults can find genuine happiness even when living alone, drawn from both science and real-life experience. Because solitude, when understood, can become not a burden, but a kind of freedom. And before we move on, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with feeling lonely after 60? What helped you most, or what are you still searching for? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might comfort someone who needs to hear it. And if you find this video helpful, please hit like and subscribe so you never miss another message from Senior Ways, where we talk about living wiser, stronger, and more peacefully every day. Proven way number 1. Find comfort in routine. Turn solitude into stability. When 70-year-old Marion retired, she thought the freedom of unscheduled days would feel wonderful. No more alarm clocks, no deadlines, no rush. But after a few months, that freedom began to feel like drifting. Every morning felt the same, she said. I'd wake up, make coffee, stare out the window, and wonder what to do next. That emptiness isn't uncommon. When life loses structure, loneliness often fills the gap. The human brain, especially in older age, finds comfort in predictability. Routine gives our days rhythm, and rhythm gives us meaning. Science supports this deeply. Studies from Harvard's Center for Aging have shown that seniors with consistent daily routines report higher life satisfaction and lower anxiety. Routine helps the body regulate sleep cycles, digestion, and even mood by stabilizing our internal clock. But beyond biology, it gives the heart something to hold onto, a sense of purpose, no matter how small. Marion began starting her mornings with a short walk, followed by breakfast and a crossword puzzle. It wasn't much, she said, but it made the days feel different. It reminded me that time was still mine to shape. If you're living alone, try crafting your own rhythm. Start with simple rituals, morning stretches with music you love, watering your plants at the same hour, or calling a neighbor every Friday. The goal isn't to fill time, it's to give time shape. Over weeks, you'll notice something shift. The silence won't feel as hollow, it will start to sound like peace. Proven way number 2, rediscover purpose through service, the secret of feeling needed. There's a powerful truth many lonely seniors overlook. One of the fastest ways to feel connected is to help someone else. Humans are wired for meaning, and that meaning often comes from being useful. When 81-year-old Walter lost his wife, he also lost the small daily acts that made him feel necessary, fixing her tea, checking her medication, listening to her stories. I didn't realize how much purpose those little things gave me, he said. For months he sat in front of the TV going through the motions. Then one day he noticed a sign at the library, volunteers needed for reading program. He signed up reluctantly at first and began reading to children once a week. Within 2 months, something remarkable happened. His smile came back. His eyes looked brighter. They called me Mr. Walter. He laughed, and suddenly I mattered again. Psychologists call this pro-social engagement, the act of contributing to others' well-being. Research from Stanford's Center on Longevity found that seniors who volunteer or mentor younger generations experience a measurable boost in happiness and cognitive health. It triggers what scientists call the helper's high-releasing dopamine and endorphins, the same feel-good chemicals that brighten mood and lower blood pressure. But even more importantly, it rebuilds identity. You're no longer someone who lost people. You become someone who gives. Service doesn't have to mean formal volunteering. It could be cooking an extra meal for a neighbor, checking on someone at church, or sharing your skills online. One 75-year-old woman in Florida started making small handmade greeting cards for local nursing homes. I can't visit, she said, but I can send love. That's purpose. And purpose at any age is one of the most powerful medicines for loneliness. The wonderful thing about both routine and purpose is that they build upon each other. Routine grounds your days while purpose fills them. Together they transform solitude from something empty into something steady and meaningful. Being alone no longer feels like waiting, it starts to feel like living. Before we move on, take a moment to think. What's one small ritual you could begin tomorrow morning? Or one way you could offer your kindness to someone nearby? Write it down, and if you're comfortable, share it in the comments below. You never know who might read it and feel inspired to start their own journey out of loneliness. In the next part, we'll explore 2 more powerful ways to build happiness alone by strengthening your inner world and deepening your connection to the natural one around you. These next steps are often the ones that bring the deepest peace of all. Proven way number 3, strengthen your inner dialogue, the voice that shapes your peace. When you spend long stretches of time alone, there's one voice you hear more than anyone else's, your own. For some, that voice is kind and reassuring. For others, it can be harsh, critical, or filled with regret. 76-year-old Dolores from Wisconsin used to describe her mind as a room full of echoes. Every day she'd replay old mistakes and conversations that had ended years ago. I'd sit there thinking about things I couldn't change, she said, and by dinner I'd feel worn out, and I hadn't even spoken to a soul. Our inner dialogue. The quiet words we whisper to ourselves has enormous power. Neuroscientists have found that self-talk directly affects the brain's emotional centers. Negative thoughts activate the same regions linked to physical pain, while compassionate self-talk can actually calm the nervous system, lower blood pressure, and ease anxiety. It's like tending to a garden inside your own head. When you pull the weeds of criticism and plant seeds of kindness, peace begins to grow again. Dolores's turning point came when her granddaughter introduced her to a simple journaling exercise. Every evening, she wrote down one thing she handled well that day, no matter how small. Some days it was just, "I made a good cup of soup," she laughed. But slowly, I started seeing myself differently. Within months, her mood lifted. The house hadn't changed, but her relationship with herself had. If you live alone, your thoughts are your daily companions. Train them to speak with the same tenderness you'd offer a friend. Start the morning by saying, "I'm proud of myself for being here, for still trying, for still caring." These words might sound simple, but for a lonely heart, they're powerful medicine. Remember, the goal isn't to erase loneliness, it's to replace the ache with gentleness. The way you speak to yourself becomes the home you live in. Proven way number 4, reconnect with nature, the world that never leaves you. 80-year-old Samuel once joked that his garden was his last co-worker. After retiring from decades as a postal worker, his social world had shrunk dramatically. But every morning he'd step outside to check on his tomatoes and herbs. He talked to the soil, watered the leaves, and listened to the birds. "They don't answer," he said with a smile, "but they listen." What he didn't realize was that his small daily ritual was transforming his mental health. Researchers call it biophilia, the natural human tendency to seek connection with life and living things. Dozens of studies confirm what many elders intuitively know: spending time outdoors, even for just 15 minutes a day, reduces stress hormones, improves immune function, and increases feelings of joy. In one landmark Stanford study, seniors who walked in green spaces twice a week reported feeling less lonely and more optimistic about their lives. Nature has a way of reminding us that we're still part of something vast and beautiful. The world doesn't vanish when people leave. It continues to hum softly, waiting for us to notice. And here's the beautiful part: you don't need a garden to reconnect. You can sit on a porch, open a window, feed the birds, or simply feel sunlight on your skin. A woman named Claire, age 78, began each day by sitting near her window with a cup of tea, just watching the clouds drift. "It became my conversation with the sky," she said. "It reminded me that I'm still here, still part of everything that moves." Being alone can often shrink your world: 4 walls, a quiet room, a single chair. But nature stretches it back open. When you let the breeze touch your face or the earth touch your hands, something subtle happens. You stop feeling forgotten. You remember that the world has never stopped holding you. As you reflect tonight, try stepping outside for a few minutes. Feel the cool air, notice a single sound: the rustle of leaves, the chirp of a bird, the hum of distant traffic. These tiny details are life saying you still belong. In the next part, we'll explore the final 2 proven ways to build happiness in solitude: one, about discovering new growth at any age, and another, about creating emotional connection even when no one's around. If this video has touched your heart so far, please give it a like and subscribe to Senior Ways. It helps us reach more seniors who might be feeling the same quiet ache you once felt. And together, we can make that silence a little gentler. Proven way number 5, keep learning and growing, the antidote to emptiness. When 72-year-old Helen lost her husband, her world felt like it had stopped. Days blurred together, mornings felt heavy, and evenings felt endless. One afternoon, while browsing through old photo albums, she came across a picture of herself in her 30s, smiling, confident, holding a sketchbook. "I used to love drawing," she whispered. That memory became a spark. A week later, she joined a beginner's art class at her local community center. "I was terrified," she admitted. Everyone else seemed younger or more skilled. But after a few weeks, I realized I was just happy to be learning again. There's a powerful science behind what Helen experienced. Psychologists call it neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections even in later life. When seniors engage in activities that challenge them, learning a language, playing music, painting, cooking new recipes, the brain releases dopamine, the same reward chemical that boosts motivation and joy. This isn't just mental stimulation, it's emotional rejuvenation. A study from the National Institute on Aging found that older adults who learn new skills regularly report stronger self-esteem and lower rates of depression. Helen's art class became more than a hobby. It became a bridge connecting her to others, to herself, and to the sense of curiosity she thought she had lost forever. "I realized I didn't need to have friends from the past to be happy," she said. "I could create new ones through what I love." Learning, no matter how small, reminds us that life is still unfolding. Even when you live alone, you're still part of something moving forward. Growth is the opposite of loneliness, because when you grow, you connect again with the world that's always been waiting for you. Proven way number 6. Build emotional connection without physical presence. The heart's quiet skill. 84-year-old George lives alone in a small cabin in Oregon. His children live far away, and visits are rare. But every night he sits by the fireplace with a cup of cocoa and speaks aloud to his late wife. "I tell her about my day," he said. "It sounds silly, but it makes me feel like she's still part of it." What George practices without realizing it is emotional connection without physical presence. It's the ability to keep love alive through memory, imagination, or even prayer. And it's one of the most underrated sources of peace for older adults living alone. Psychologists call this continuing bonds theory, the idea that relationships don't have to end just because physical presence does. Maintaining a sense of connection, whether through letters, photos, talking aloud, or reflection, keeps emotional warmth flowing in the mind. It helps the heart process loss without closing itself off. And when that connection feels stable, loneliness softens. Some seniors find comfort in writing daily gratitude notes addressed to loved ones who have passed. Others find it through spiritual practice, meditation, or even music. What matters is not the form, it's the feeling of still being connected to something larger than yourself. For George, those quiet conversations became healing moments. "I stopped feeling like I was living in an empty house," he said. "It felt like a shared space again, me, my memories, and the love that never left." Loneliness often tells us we're invisible, but love, even silent love, proves we're not. If you're watching this right now, sitting alone in a quiet room, take a deep breath and remind yourself you are still part of many hearts and many stories. Somewhere out there, someone you've helped, someone you've smiled at, someone you've raised or taught, they still carry a piece of you. You are not forgotten. You are woven into the lives you've touched, and those threads never vanish. Final thoughts. So, how do you find happiness alone? You start by shaping your days with routine, giving your life gentle rhythm. You rediscover purpose through service, feeling needed again. You strengthen your inner dialogue, turning self-criticism into kindness. You reconnect with nature, letting the earth remind you that you belong. You keep learning and growing, reigniting curiosity and courage. And you nurture emotional connection, remembering that love never truly leaves it, just changes its form. Each of these 6 ways is simple, but together they build something extraordinary, a life that feels full, even in quiet moments. You don't need a crowded room to feel alive. You just need to notice the small, sacred details that have been waiting for your attention all along the morning light. The smell of coffee, the sound of your own laughter. These are not signs of loneliness. They are the proof of life still unfolding beautifully. If this message has touched your heart, please take a moment to share your thoughts below. Have you found your own ways to enjoy being alone? Do you have routines, hobbies, or quiet joys that keep you company? Your story could be the comfort someone else needs today. And if you'd like to hear more conversations like this about resilience, peace, and growing wiser with age, please hit the like button, subscribe, and ring the bell icon so you never miss another video from Senior Ways. Remember, you are never truly alone. You are surrounded by memories, by moments, and by an entire community here that understands. The goal is not to fill the silence, it's to make peace with it. because when you do, you'll realize that solitude isn't empty. It's full of everything that still matters.